what kind of a method, delivering method they need to do. So there was a lot of those on the PDD. Basically, the start of construction project. That's what you have to know: all the contracts, how they deliver the project, and all that, and schedules and specs. That's mostly on PDD. So
you took PDD first too?
no, I took PDD first, but I took and then yesterday I took the PDD, the Kentucky, yeah. But I didn't take the PPD yet. That's next Saturday.
Yeah.
But yesterday I took the PDD exam.
Wait, so what you were just describing was PDD or PPD?
PDD, the documentation.
Yep, that's the one with the calculations in it.
Yeah, there was a lot of calculation, like the R value of a wall, or the lighting, or that. But like I said, thermal expansion of a material that I never studied on that. So
yeah, we could. That's in my new formulas section. If I didn't put it in already, but that question does come up, the thermal expansion. So if you want, how many people have not taken all the exams, or which ones haven't you taken? You're still missing one, right, Molly?
Yeah, I have to take the last two.
The last two, okay.
Last two.
Jose, Angela.
Last two.
What do you mean the last two?
PPD and PDD.
Yeah, both of them. Okay. Yeah. All right. So you still have some time to study. So I'll send you the new formulas because I keep updating it as people get in. So I did put the thermal expansion thing in. I put the cubic yards in, but we talked about that last time. The thermal expansion is one of the questions. I think, Beth, you sent it to me about the thermal expansion. It was an unfair question because they didn't give you the steel coefficient. And so that means you've got to memorize that it's 0.000065.
Oh, geez.
Yeah. No, that
it's 0.5065. Just so everybody knows.
Yeah, I looked it up in that
thermal expansion of steel, and that question of elongation is going to only be about steel, not wood or concrete.
Right.
So that's pretty much the only number you need to remember.
I think I had the same question, and they gave me the coefficient, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. Okay. Well, they should.
Yeah, I used your formula.
Okay. Good.
And it did make sense to me at the end because you got to play with the inches and the foot, so you got to.
Right.
Divide, multiply the foot by 12.
Yeah.
Together.
Yeah. If you want, after in another 5 minutes or so, if you want, we can go through some other questions, practice things.
Yeah.
Particularly the ones that Beth sent. I think those might be helpful to you. So, does anybody have any other things you'd like to discuss on the wrap up, or?
On PDD, I had 2 questions about electrical: what to put the transformer and what to put the disconnect switch for a private residence if you have a one-family house.
Yeah, that's all. Again, those are things that I put in the PPD resource guide that I sent to you all. It talks about you need to study the Architectural Studio Companion about locations of those things: transformer, boiler room. I think you just need to go back and review that as well. And again, some of the question. Well, we'll go over those again. But again, the question on the masonry wall, how to calculate that quickly. I think Black Spectacles, wherever you got that question from, Beth, they use the long method and not the short method. So again, just go back and review the formulas file that I sent you, because I've got the shortcuts of the formulas in there and examples of questions and how to answer them.
So Paul, do you have the advice for the drag and drop? I mean, do they have to be aligned with the plan or not? Do you know?
I haven't heard that at all. I'm surprised it's askew. But
yeah, most of the plans they gave me was on an angle, and I didn't know that.
I mean, can you clearly see the spaces and the angle?
Yes, I know where to put them, but I just don't know if I need to, place them on an angle to match the floor plan that they have.
No, you shouldn't have to do that. I can't imagine why they'd ask you to basically figure out the angles of your answer. That doesn't make sense.
No. The thing is, it's the rooftop unit, and then the rooftop unit is on an angle on their plan. But when I drop it in there, do I have to match the angle that they have? And that's what I want to know.
Is
Wow,
it not?
that's a good question.
I have to check that out with Black Spectacles and see if other coaches have had any feedback about that. But that's the first time I've heard of an askew plan.
They're all
And-
askew. All the plans they gave me, were all askew. They were all in an angle.
You have to rotate. You can rotate what you're
I
dropping.
know, but I don't know what angle to rotate to match exactly. That's the thing.
Well, I can't imagine that they're asking you to rotate and be exact
Right.
in the rotation. They're going to give you some tolerance. So I think you got at least, if that's the situation. Again, I've never heard anybody say that in the last year and a half about askew plans and having to reorient the answer. So that's the first time I've heard it. So, but my suggestion would be is that you got, if that's the case, then you have some tolerance. You just need to get it maybe oriented slightly to where it's close, and drop it.
I guess if it was within the case study, you may have to look at the survey and see the angle, maybe.
It is in the case. It is in the case study.
I still can't understand why they would be having you do that mechanically. That just doesn't make sense to me. But again, maybe that's a new twist on the exams. Because it's the first time I've heard it in over a year and a half. Maybe people didn't have that issue. I mean, typically a drop in place, and the way they teach coaches is you have a floor plan that's straight at you. It's two-dimensional.
Right.
And
Yeah,
you
what I
drag it and
thought.
drop it. So an
but
askew one, I've never heard
yeah.
of, where you actually have to practice. You have to practice tilting it and adjusting it. So I mean, that may have been one or two questions, but I mean, if you miss those, that's not gonna kill you. That's what my point is, that you may have been thinking too much about it and lost some time doing other questions.
That's true.
Yeah.
I think that's what's one of the key things, is that don't let these things, if you're spending too much time over a minute or 2 minutes on a question, you're killing yourself, because that's not the intention. And that's true also with calculations. You should not have to be doing more than 3 or 4 steps to solve a calculation question. And always note that they're giving you enough, they're giving you all the information you need in the calculation formula, except for what they're looking for as the answer. So if the equation has, I equals V over R, they're going to give you V and R, and you're looking for I. So that you never have to say, oh, well, something's missing in the question. No, that's not. They're giving you everything you need to know. That's why I was frustrated by that question that Beth sent me about the elongation, because they didn't give you the steel, and that's unfair. So that 0.000065 should have been in the question. So I'm glad to hear that may be the case, to resolve that. Now, having said that, now you know what it is, right? So if a steel question comes up, everybody knows it's 0.5065.
Right.
And then just fit it in the equation. The other question that came up on lighting, well, let's jump into it. It was regarding a question where you needed all this data. It had a long formula, which required a coefficient of efficacy and the light loss factor, but they didn't give you. They gave you all the values, but not the light loss factor. And so what they expected you to know, and I don't know why they expect you to know this, but if they don't give you that value in an LLF in the formula, it's always 1. So that's, again, another maybe something just to put in the back of your head, is that if you get a question like that on lighting and they don't give you the LLL factor, just put down 1 in your formula. Okay, let me jump right in here so we can optimize this time for those of you who haven't taken tests. Can you see this?
Yes.
No? Yes?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I think these are your questions, right, Beth? It looks like it.
I don't think they're mine, but
And
Oh,
those
they're
are
not
mine,
yours?
Paul. Those are
Okay,
mine.
24-foot long serpentine garden was originally designed. Well, I don't need to read this. You guys can read it.
Yep.
I'll zoom in, see if we can make that more legible. So I hope everybody knows what to use in this question. The shortcuts. Because the answer that was given used the longhand method, which took a while to figure out. There's a shorthand method, right, which I put in the formulas file.
Right.
1.125.
So what do
Page
you use? 1.125 for CMU blocks
Mm-hmm.
and 6.8 or 7 for bricks. So then to calculate this, what do?
You multiply by the cost.
You need to calculate the area, right?
Yeah.
Of the wall. So how big is the wall in area? It's 24 feet long by how tall?
16
by
inches.
16.
Okay, so now you got to convert 16 inches into feet. So what are 16 inches in feet?
It's
Uh,
1.4.
1.33.
1.33.
I mean, you can probably get away with 1.4. Okay, so now you got the area, right? 1.33 times 24 feet gives you your area. And then you just simply multiply that area times 1.125 for the CMU blocks, then multiply that quantity of blocks that you need times the cost, which is $2.10, and do the same thing, same area, multiplied by 6.8 or 7 times 80 cents. And that gives you the cost of the bricks times 2 because it's a double width, right?
Yeah.
So that's the thing that you got to remember. If it's a double width wall of brick, then you got to multiply that times 2. So now you get the value of the bricks and just make the subtraction, and you get. This is a long method that they use, so I don't even want to go through that.
I just, when I did this calculation using the short method,
Mm-hmm.
well, I tried to follow theirs, but I just never got the right answer.
Yeah, here's a short method. So 1.125 times 1.33, right? You get 32 square feet.
Yes.
And so you need times 1.125, you get 36 CMU blocks. Times $2.10 is $75.60. So using 32 square feet again, times 6.8, you get 217. Times 2, so you get 435 bricks. Times 80 cents, 348. So you subtract it, you get $272.56. So then you look back at the choices, and the closest is 270.
Okay.
So don't get fooled if you end up with an answer which is not your answer is not exactly fit, but it's the one that they're looking for what's closest. Because it could be off, because as I point here, they're giving the answer $270. So they're calculating a brick thickness is 2.66 inches, 6 courses to make 16 inches height, but a standard brick is 2.25 inches. So the balance of that is the mortar joint.
Right.
So that could be way off. So that's why this formula, the shortcut, should help you. Now, if it was just a fill in the blank and you said 272 and the answer was 270, I think NCARB would still give you the correct answer. That is correct, because they figure you're probably using another method, but you're so damn close that I can't believe they would count that off. Okay, here's one on electricity. What's the resistance of an incandescent lamp that draws 1.5 amperes when plugged into a socket that's connected to 120 volts? Okay, so they've given you two answers, two values for the equation. And I think I put this up here as a brain dump, so you don't have to figure out the math unless some of you just know how to do algebra really fast. So the one that's typically used is I equals V over R, but R would be I over V, and V is I times R. So then if you plug in the values of that, the voltage is 120, they gave you that. The amperes is the current, so that's 1.5. So they're looking for R. So R equals 120 divided by 1.5, or it's 80 ohms. So again, it shouldn't take you less than 30 seconds to answer this question if you know which of these formulas to use, right? They were looking for R, so you want to use this one, R equals I divided by V. Make sense?
Yes.
Okay, here, this is the U values issue. So again, this is 2-inch thick polystyrene board with an R value of 4 per inch is added to a wall. What's the U value? So this is the key thing right here. They're looking for the U value. not the R value. So the answer is a U value, the coefficient of the wall after adding the 2-inch thick polystyrene board. If the initial U value of the wall was, see, they're tricking you here. They're giving you an R value, but they're also saying the U value of the wall is 0.025.
Right.
Right. So now you got to apply the formulas. So the first thing you got to do is you've got to recognize that it's a 2-inch thick polystyrene board with an R of 4 per inch. So it's 4 times 2 is 8, right?
Right. And then 1 divided by 8. Right.
So the R value of that added board, that 2-inch board, is going to be 8. So in the initial value, R value, getting everything into R values is what I'm trying to do here.
Mm-hmm.
So the R value would be 1 divided by 0.025, because that was the U value they gave us, right? So that's 4. So 4 plus 8 is 12. Because the answer has to be in U value, you divide that by 1 into 1, so you get 0.0833.
Mm-hmm.
Now you can do it another way, but this, to me, this is the way I would have done it. This convert into R values first.
Right.
And again, this is another, if you don't know your algebra well, this is a formula that you would use, or brain dump. R equals 1 over U and U equals 1 over R. So they're both divisions of each other into 1. I think what you just got to remember is that you got to multiply that 2-inch times 4 per inch. Okay, here we go. This is a fun one. I think this is it.
Yeah, this is the one.
Steel beam of a canopy is subjected to a temperature swing of 120. And that's, the beam's 55 feet long. So now you've got 2 values, and the equation is giving you, this is the equation that right here that you need to have. And I just spelled this out for you. I'll send these to you, by the way, after we're done.
Okay.
The first thing you got to know, which they didn't put in the question, is steel has a linear coefficient of, here it is, 0.50 and 65.
Of an inch, but sorry, just to back up, of an inch per
1 degree Fahrenheit.
degree. So for every degree delta Fahrenheit, it's gonna change that.
Yeah, but don't even go there.
Okay.
It's unimportant. What you need to do is be able to know this number right here is going to go in, is going to fill in one of the equation values.
Okay.
So here's the first thing I always do when I get a question like a calculation question, is I immediately write down on scratch paper, okay, what are they giving me in the first, what's the equation that I need to use? So here it is. I write that down, and then I write in, what are they giving me? So they're looking for delta L, right? And the coefficient of expansion of the C is that value. And the temperature differential, they gave us that at 120 degrees, and they gave us a length. So they gave us everything except the C, but hopefully, like you said, they give you that. But now you know what it is. It's always going to be for steel. So then you just plug it in, and then it's just simply multiplication. So again, that should take 30 seconds, no more than a minute, to figure that out. Now, recognize that the length of the beam was converted into inches. Now, why was it converted into inches?
Because the difference is
right up here. The steel is in inches.
Do we need to know some other materials' thermal coefficient too?
No. No, as I say, what they're looking for is steel is the one that typically is impacted by thermal expansion. I mean, wood will as well, but really what they're looking for is your knowledge of steel and elongation.
Okay. Steel
will expand. Concrete is less important. Now, having said that, if they happen to throw a question at you, they should give you this value, this C value of concrete or wood. Now, if you want to go ahead and find that in the tables, you can find those and just scratch them down for wood and steel. I'm sorry, for wood and concrete. So it would be those 3 materials. I mean, they might give you aluminum. That would be the other one. That actually would be steel and aluminum would be the ones that I would think they might ask about. Okay, this is a question. I don't think you would run into this question, but it's asking for the circular section of 5 inches a diameter of basically a structural member. So that would be a circular concrete column. So this is asking you what's the moment of inertia of a circle. So this is the formula for it. This is their formula, and it's really hard to read that. I don't understand this nomenclature that they get. I mean, come on.
This was on black spectacles.
Yeah, I mean, come on, black. I'll tell Black Spectacles they need to change this. This is ridiculous.
I didn't even know they looked.
Yeah, I mean, you got okay. What are they talking about with this? These little hieroglyphics here from Egyptian walls. This is what they're trying to do right here. It's I equals pi d to the fourth divided by 64.
Oh.
So anytime, I guess, when you see that up thing, that means d to the fourth. And that's supposedly their pi symbol. But you can use Microsoft and go find these symbols. It's not very complicated. Anyway, so this is the formula for inertia for a circle. So if you want to write that down, memorize it, then that's what it would be for a diameter of a circle. And then simply just doing the math. You know pi is 3.14, and d to the fourth it's 5 inches that they gave us, right? So it's 5 times 5 times 5 times 5 to the fourth divided by 64. So then it's that value, and you get 30.67. If they asked the answer to be rounded to the nearest tenth, so it would be 30.7. That's also important to remember in case you're making mistakes on the units that they're asking for.
Do you think
make sure you're answering to the nearest tenth if they're asking for it? If they're not asking for it, I'm told that NCARB would accept 30.66 as the correct answer, as well as 30.7.
Do you think we should have memorized the moment of inertia for a steel,
circle?
For a column, for steel, for a Y flange?
No, but I think if they give you something like that, you should go to the formulas and see what they've given you.
Okay.
On the exam.
Wait, is it up to the fourth? Yeah, it's to the fourth, right? D to the fourth.
It's to the fourth, yeah.
Okay.
Okay, here we go on the light fixtures, luminaires. And a 20 by 30 foot. So again, what I would do after this, I've given you a room. The desired level is 50 foot candles. Each luminaire uses 3. This is important. You got to make sure you note that down. 3. That produce 1,500 lumens with a 75% efficiency. So there's a lot of numbers in here, which means that there's a bigger formula, right? And the formula is this: the number of fixtures equals the foot candles times the floor area divided by the lumens times CU, coefficient utilization, times the light loss factor. And remember what I told you about LLF? They didn't give us that, right? They gave us this. The foot candles we know is 50. They gave us that, and they gave it the floor area. We know that's 600 square feet, and we know what the lumens are. So we got this covered, and that covered. The coefficient is 75%. Remember in the question. So that's the CU value. So they're missing the LLF. So you can't solve this problem unless you have an LLF factor. So if it's not given, it's going to be 1. So once you've basically put that equation down, figure out what they've given you in the question, then you can go to step 1 and just start filling in the blanks and doing the multiplication and division. So you see I put the 1 in here for the LLF. And so you get the correct answer is 26.67. Now, that's not the correct answer, I'm sorry. So now you got to remember it was 3. There are 3 12-watt bulbs. So you got to divide that value, this 26.67 by 3 to get the correct answer of 9 lumens. You can't have 8.8 lumens. So you got to even if it was 8.2, that would still mean you need 9.
So this is solving for the bulbs, not necessarily because there's 3 bulbs in the fixture.
Yeah, we're solving for the luminaire, right?
It's a lot of calculation for one question.
Now, let's see, 1. Well, if you want to count these out, this is your formula. You're filling it in, so it'd be 1 division of multiplication. I'm not sure what you're counting as a step, but this would probably be the maximum I would see, right? It's got a lot in it, but I think you should know this because you'll get it.
Okay.
Right? I think if you might run into this. And just remember, don't be thrown off by the fact that they don't give you the LLF. It should be a 1.
And this formula is in the references. We don't have
It
to.
should be in the references that they give you, right? But they spell it out like this, apparently. The number of fixtures equals foot candles times floor area divided by lumens times CU times LLF. So that's what they gave you, apparently, right?
I don't think.
Yeah. Yeah, I checked the Black Spectacles references, what they put, and that's how they write it.
Yeah, that's how they write. I think that's what would be on the exam references as well. Your
Okay.
formulas. They should give that in your formulas. You shouldn't have to memorize that formula.
Okay.
Okay, here's an independent living facility that's 170 units. The main entrance is an outswinging double door. Here's a key right here. Outswinging. What does outswinging mean? It means it's an exterior door. So what's the maximum force allowable to open the main entry doors? This would also be a clue, main entry doors. So that means it's an exterior door, not an interior door. So this requires some knowledge. This is, you got to know the code.
I thought it was 5 pounds. I mean, I went back and checked the code, and there is a reference about 5 pounds.
It is 5 pounds, but 5 pounds is for interior doors. This is from the code. Interior doors require no more than 5 pounds of force. However, exterior door force is not specified by ADA. So the correct answer is as little as possible.
Okay.
And your choice is up there. However, the code still goes on to say that the typical maximum opening force for exterior door ranges from 8.5 to 10. Let's see. They didn't give you 8 or 10. If they gave you 8.5 or 10, then I probably would go with those as opposed to the first one. Because it says, what is the maximum force allowable, right? But according to the code, it's the maximum, typical maximum is 8.5 to 10. So they may have put 9, they might put 9 pounds in the answer, and that would be the correct answer as opposed to as little as possible. However, having said that, the code says exterior doors force is not specified. Well, why did they say that and then give you a typical maximum in the code?
It doesn't make sense.
Yeah, that's a bad thing for ADA to do. Anyway, that's the problem with that question, is that you had to make sure that it was not interior doors they're referring to, but exterior doors.
Exterior. Okay.
Okay, which item should not be in the construction plan for remediation of hazardous materials? This one, what I underline when I'm reading the question is, I'm looking at this one right here, remediation, and should not. So those are the two things I'm looking that give me a clue to help me find the right answer. And if you look at these choices,
I think
this is a key right here to make me feel like this is a correct part. This should be in the plan.
oh,
And this one, provide workers appropriate protection. Yes, this should be in the plan. Proper testing prior to removing them. Removing. This should be in the plan. So the one that doesn't fit is this first one, because it says that using coatings that encapsulate
right.
lead paint. If you encapsulate lead paint, then you don't need to remove it. So this is a oxymoron. So impossible, where the paint is required to be removed. So if it's required to be removed, you're going through these steps down below, 2, 3, and 4, to remove it safely. So there's no need to spend the money to encapsulate it.
Well,
So number 1 is wrong. Number 1 is the correct answer.
Isn't it also because remediation would involve removing materials and not leaving them?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why I highlighted it. Remediation means removal.
Right.
So when you go into an existing building, you're not going to actually spend the time to demolish it or remediate it. You can encapsulate it. but there's no reason to encapsulate something you're going to remove. Another good example would be asbestos, right? When they go into take asbestos out of a building, they don't encapsulate it and then cut the pipes off. They actually they remove it with plastic and in that way. But you know what I mean by encapsulate?
Mhm.
Yes.
Okay. So that's a little bit of a tricky question. That was it on that section. Let's see what else I can find here for you.
Paul, do you have any questions about cost index?
Cost index?
Yes.
Well, like what?
Well, I see the question that they ask you about. They give you the cost index of a project that.
Oh, in the city?
What is it?
In the city? Did I give you a cost index of the city?
Well, they give you about it's about an old like an architect, the scenario an architect was given a project, and you know you have done the same project maybe 20 years ago, and they tell you the cost was money, like $900,000 or whatever, and then they give you the cost index for this year, and there was another cost index that they give you, and they ask you to find the budget for the new project at the current time, something like that.
Yeah, you'd have to send me the question specifically so I'd give you the right answer. But basically, they're simply asking you to update your cost
Yes.
based on the new index.
Yeah.
So it would be the same square footage or the same cost times the index,
Okay.
and you'd find out the new value.
Okay.
Sometimes I've seen the question come up where they're comparing city index. So what it costs in Chicago index is this, and the cost in New York City is this index. So that's the other type of a question. But that's just simply a multiplication calculation. Okay, here we go. Thermal mass for passive heating and cooling. This is a PPD primarily. Although it could be I could see this in PDD. What do you think the answers are? 3 answers.
The Trom wall, definitely.
Trom.
This is a key word right here. This is a clue to the answers. Thermal mass.
So concrete floor, Trom wall. Rock bed.
What looks like thermal mass? Concrete floor is thermal mass, right?
Right.
Trom wall is thermal mass, and
Green roof.
rock
Green
bed
roof.
is thermal mass.
Green
Oh,
roof
rock
would be
bed.
nice too, though, no?
So that's the 3 correct thermal masses in this question. BV, everybody knows what the BIPVs are, right? Yes? No?
No.
No?
Yeah.
Okay, a building integrated photovoltaic is a kind of glass facade or glazing that has photovoltaics built into it. They're integrated into the glazing. So you'll see buildings going up with glazing, which actually the glass itself produces electricity.
Oh.
So that's a BIPV.
You wouldn't consider a green roof something of a thermal mass? I guess it's more because
The problem with a green roof is that it's not really doing what a thermal mass does, which is absorbs and then releases the heat or cooling later. This green roof is mostly, let's see what I think the answers talk about it. The green roof is primarily for stormwater management. Yeah.
Okay.
And carbon sequestration.
I've just never heard of what a
I mean, you could, if you didn't have any other good choices in the answer, or if they said pick 4 instead of 3, then yeah, I think you could throw green roof in there. But it's not really thermal mass.
Right, right.
It's an insulator. It's a great insulator and an acoustic barrier, and for insulation, stormwater management, carbon sequestration, but not really. That would not be my first choice for thermal mass.
Correct. Okay.
Like an Adobe, in the Southwest and Adobe buildings, you would not necessarily consider that as a thermal mass. What's the diameter of a concrete column? Minimum diameter of a concrete column?
8. I just guess.
I'd guess 6, but I don't know why.
I was gonna guess 6, just 'cause that's the minimum.
Well, you're both wrong.
Yay!
It's 10.
Ah,
So put that in your hat. Okay, this is a question that I got from a candidate. What division of CSI master format would you find lightweight metal framing?
9.
5.
no, metal.
6.
Well, they don't have metal. Metal's 5.
Oh yeah, you're right. I didn't look.
Okay, let me change this to 5 then. Make it harder.
Okay, what it said 5, but
I guess you're throwing us a curveball here.
6, number 6. No, 5.
The correct answer is 9. It's in finishes.
okay.
And just put that in your hat, because that's kind of like where it's rebar, right? You'd think it would be in steel or metal,
Right.
but it's in concrete.
It's in concrete.
And the metal furring, non-structural metal framing, non-structural metal stud framing is in finishes, not in metals, because it's considered a support for plaster and gypsum board.
And what was the other one you said we need to know for the rebar? Where
Yeah,
was
concrete,
It's in
division
concrete.
3.
But so wood framing and light frame construction, that doesn't go under finishes. That's still under wood.
Correct.
Okay.
I hate this.
Don't ask me why.
This is my least favorite section.
Yeah, and I don't know if it's somebody from your group or someone from my other group said you've got to memorize CSI divisions.
Yeah.
Was that Jose?
I don't know. I've heard it.
He said, yeah, you got to memorize those divisions, as well as memorize A201 and B101.
Right.
And you know, I could keep going down the list. Your project delivery methods, you need to really know those, and the role of an architect in each of those different kind of delivery approaches. Okay, how about this one?
So I think 6 is normal. So maybe closer than 6.
I think so.
So number 2?
Yeah, I guess so.
Correct. That's good.
That is why Beth passed.
So Beth, you passed PPD or PDD?
No, I haven't passed PDD yet. Only PPD.
Oh, okay.
We'll see.
Yeah, these you need to know. You need to know the different kinds of footings and where they're applied, and they primarily are asking these questions regarding soil conditions, right?
Yes.
If it's a bad soil, what type of a footing would you use? Or if it's a good soil, what type of a footing would you use? So you need to be able to know these. This is a drag and place. Let me zoom out.
Okay.
So can you see these? And
Grade
can't really
beam
get
is
the whole.
grade beam's the lower right. Isolated footings above that. The continuous footing is
Let's start over here on the upper left and go
Okay.
left to right. So what's this one?
Continuous.
that's
Is it
That-
continuous?
no
Okay.
Combined, maybe. Combined, maybe.
Spread
Yeah.
footing?
Strip footing.
Yes, spread footing.
Let's come back to that one.
Okay, we'll come back to that one. What's this one?
That's the that's
Can't-
the strip footing.
Cantilever
Oh, that's
one?
a cantilever.
This is cantilever footing. Good.
Yep.
What's this one?
Isolated.
Isolated?
Okay. And this one?
That's the
That's combined. Oh no, I cannot see.
Yeah, I can't see it.
Can you see it now?
Can you scroll like a little bit? Yeah, there you go.
That's combined.
And this one?
that's continuous.
Yeah.
That's continuous.
And this guy?
A grade beam.
Creepy. So the first one was the strip? No, it's continuous.
Continuous.
That one's continuous?
Continuous, cantilever, isolated, combined, strip, and grade.
So we flipped continuous and strip.
Okay.
Now, so if you had a really bad soil, Actually, there's the answer to that question is not even in here, so I'm not even going to ask it. But the other choice is if you look at Construction Illustrated, and please do look at the sections on footings and foundations,
Yeah.
because you need to know about a slab, a mat footing, which basically spreads out the entire weight of the building across a large area. So that would be what you'd use on low soil, poor soil conditions. You want to distribute the weight, right, as much as possible.
Do we have this document sent to us, Paul?
Yeah, I can send it to you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I said I'll send them to you. And the other thing to study is your poles, your pilings, because I think there could be a question about if you're building an urban area, you want to have least disturbance on the neighboring buildings. What type of a pile would you use?
Mini
so-
pile.
What?
Mini pile.
No, the choices are going to be a lot of concrete things. You want an auger type of a pile.
You said the helical.
Yeah, helical. Something that screws in. You think about it screwing in as opposed to excavation and pounding.
Oh,
Yes.
what's a floating foundation?
A floating?
Yeah,
That's the same
floating.
thing as it would be a slab or mat.
Rafter. They have a raft footing, right?
And a raft. Yep. Yeah, that's a good way to think about it. Typically, a raft and a mat are the same, but a
I
raft
think
floats.
Floating
A raft
is
floats.
the
You could think of it that way. Okay, how about this guy? I'll zoom in for you.
one-fourth.
Half
A
inch.
quarter?
Yeah,
Well,
one quarter.
1/4.
Quarter inch.
for a ramp. Yeah.
That's right. Good.
Sorry, Paul, just jump in real quick. I did get a question in one of the practice exams. What is the percentage of slope of across a ramp?
Right. That's coming up.
Oh, and
I
then
think it's in this. I think it's in this group here.
okay, but then expressed in a ratio.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's
Okay.
coming up. I think.
Okay.
I think it's the last question in this group.
Okay.
So what's the ramp rise? What ramp rise or handrails required on both sides of a ramp?
Wow.
6 inches.
4 inches.
6 inches.
It's 6.
Okay, so
Going for 6 inches, and you are correct. Yeah, these are kinds of things that you've got to know, right? These aren't things you can use a
Yeah.
calculation or something. You've got to be able to get to these. Now, if it's a case study, hopefully they would give you chapter 10 of IBC and you'd be able to find these. Okay, what's the minimum headroom
80.
in all parts of an egress ramp?
6'8".
80 inches.
What are we saying?
80.
80.
80?
Yes.
Somebody's been studying.
Not enough, apparently.
You'll keep at it.
Oh,
You said minimum headroom?
Yeah, minimum headroom is 80 inches.
Yeah.
So here's a calculation. So the first thing you got to do is you got to know what equation to use, right? So if you don't remember it, you got to go to the resources to find it in the thing. But it's soil capacity or length. Let's do it this way. Soil capacity equals the pounds, the total pounds or weight divided by the square footage. So it's a simple equation. It looks complicated in the question, right? But what you've got to do to get in is you need to add the dead load and the live load together. So if you look at the question, again, it was 150 pounds. The column weighs, so that's a dead load, 150 pounds, and the live load's 180. So you got to add those two together. They've given you 4.5 kips per square foot. And obviously you know that 1 kip is 1,000 pounds, right?
Yes.
So, so now you just fill in the blanks. And you get your answer. 12 foot 3 inches. Okay, this is one of, I hope you guys remember the shortcut. one luminaire is an output of 3 candelas, the second output of 5. How many lumens do the 2 luminaires produce? Round to the nearest tenth. That's an important thing to note. Remember, does anybody remember the shortcut?
Hmm.
Yeah,
No?
12.
Better go
One-
back to
one-
my formula files and study this.
1 candela equals 12.56.
0.56.
Yep, that's it. 1 lumen equals 12.56 lumens. So now it's simply a matter of
1 lumen
multiplying.
is equal to 12.56 lumen.
Pardon?
Is it 1 lumen?
No, it's 1
Is it
candela. One
One
it's one
candela
can-
should be.
I'm sorry. Yeah, 1 candela. It should be
1 candela. Yeah.
Okay, so then this should be, you should memorize this, or if you can't remember it, you should brain dump it. So then it's simply a matter of multiplying that times the 3 candelas. I'm sorry, the luminaire 1 had 3 candelas in it, right?
Mhm.
So it's times 3, and the second one had 5 candelas in it, so it's that. Then you add them together, you get 105. So again, that's less than 30 seconds to answer that question, as long as you know 12.56 lumens. You probably guys all know this one, right? Which of the three mortar joints, identified 3 mortar joints, have the best water repellent qualities to reduce freeze thaw damage? Assume none of these have sealants, coatings, or paint applied.
Concave, V, and flush. No?
Concrete,
Bottom right one that I
V, and I was gonna say weathered.
Well, I know that
Weathered.
the struck one is not good because
Rate
water
this-
can sit on that ledge.
Weather, concave, and flush.
It says in the book weathered is okay for it, but that water can still get in.
Yeah, the problem is that the reason why this is a trick question in a way, because it says assume none of these have sealants or coatings. So that means the only reason why you have a flush joint is if you're going to coat it.
Okay.
So if it doesn't have a flush joint, then it could absorb water. So I think the correct answers are, yeah, these 3.
Okay.
Yeah, you're going to get some capillary action right here in the weathered.
Mm.
It can come back in, but it's going to be evacuated off
Right.
on that slope. I mean, yeah, and here's some more definitions of why they work and why they don't work. Again, I'm sending this to you. Okay, here's another calculation question.
Oh, okay. Okay, should I build a? So we had to.
I always get stuck on this one.
I know
Yeah, the thing to remember is the 2.3.
Yeah. So.
This is pretty simple math too. Once you just practice doing this. So they're giving you 75 and they're giving you 80, and they've even given you 2.3. Sometimes they won't even give you the 2.3, so you got to memorize that.
Yeah.
Okay, so then basically the step is to 80-foot elevation divided by 2.3.
Right.
It's 30.78. Then you multiply that. I'm sorry, you
Times
subtract that from 75. So you get
But-
41 psi.
So
And the reason you
well,
the reason you subtract is because the tower's higher.
did you have? But wasn't it in square inches? Is there? Sorry.
Yeah, but that's eliminated by the 80 foot.
Okay. Oh, okay. Right. Once you divide it, it's all
Right.
the same unit. Okay.
Yeah, just you can see this when I send it to you, and just try and rehearse it.
Okay.
Okay, here's another question about plumbing pressure. So what's the number you need to remember? They're not giving you?
2.31.
2.31.
Right.
The shower needs.
And so this one, they're not telling you the pressure at the water main?
Nope. They're just asking you what would be the height of each fixture from the water main. if the shower needs 12 psi and the valve needs 20 psi.
Oh,
So
say it again.
it's simply multiplication, right?
Yeah, times 2.31. So it's 28 and the 20.
Yep.
80.
27.6 feet for the shower and 46 feet for the flush valve.
But how do you know this if you don't know the pressure coming in?
Because they're giving the pressure of the valve. I mean, if they did that, then you'd have to do some subtraction, but they're just telling you from the water main.
Okay.
1 pound of pressure will raise water 2.3 feet. 1 psi, right?
Should we know it in the opposite where point is it 0.44?
0.433.
0.433.
Mm-hmm. Okay, the most effective location to reduce noise in an open office. You should know this should be less than 2 seconds to answer this question right.
Ceiling.
Fine.
Ceiling, correct. Always going to be a ceiling in an open office or open classroom. Here's some more explanation on that. Okay, what's the most effective sound absorptive materials for a project? Identify 3.
Heavy fabric.
Glass fiber insulation.
Acoustic tile.
Acoustic tile.
Yeah, those are right.
But I would say drywall maybe.
It's not the most effective, right? Or is it? I don't know.
Yeah,
Curtain.
that's the key word here is most, right?
Yeah.
That's the key word here is most effective.
Curtains and heavy fabrics.
Yep, these are the values. So acoustic tile is, well, fiberglass insulation is the highest NRC 1. Then acoustic tile is 0.65. Curtains are 0.6. Heavy fabric curtains are 0.6. Drywall is really bad. It's 0.05.
Right.
Wood floor is only 0.1 and marble's 0.
Nothing. Yeah.
You should get this fast. That's noise reducing wall type.
Absorption.
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 Although I've never heard of an absorption wall. I mean,
Oh, sorry, separation probably,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
Because you're creating 2 separate walls.
Oh, I see what you mean. Okay.
Separation. You should get this one. They should know this by heart.
6 dB.
Right.
Dang, nice.
Yep. So now everybody should know this one by memory. 6 dB is per doubling the surface weight.
Open the surface weight.
Okay, you should get this one too. This is a drag place. So to drag, can you see the screen or do I need to blow it out?
no, this is
I
good.
can see it.
Absorption, diffusion, transmission, reflection. So which goes where?
So
What's A?
transmission.
Absorption?
Transmission.
Oh, sorry. Transmission. Yeah, I think. it's
Okay, what's
true.
B?
B is absorption.
Absorption.
Okay, what's C?
C
And
is reflection or deflection.
No.
Diffusion.
Yeah.
C.
What's D?
D is
D is
diffusion.
Yeah,
D
D is
is
diffusion.
That looks good, guys. That's good. Okay, this is something you should know also. You got to remember this. What's the reasonable rule of thumb for overhang depth? Should not exceed the height of the opening. So if the floor to ceiling height is 12 feet under a balcony, what's the recommended balcony depth?
Not even a third. I
Mm,
thought it was. Yeah, this is.
There's no calculations needed here. You just need to know what the rule of thumb is.
it has to be either 6 or 8, right?
Half.
Mhm.
with,
Because it can't.
uh,
Oh. Okay.
So remember that if it's 10 feet, then the balcony depth should be no greater than 10 feet. If it's
So
8
it's 1
feet,
to
no
1?
greater than 8 feet.
With
That's
one
the
to-
rule of thumb.
It's 1 to 1.
Yep. Is somebody under arrest? That's NCARB coming after you.
To tell you
Okay.
you passed.
What's the best seat for acoustics in a box concert hall? Identify box concert halls from the images below to select the best seat. Only one image represents a box concert hall. So first, these are the answers. Anywhere is a good seat. Halfway into the orchestra or close to the front. Maybe you can answer this without even seeing images. Or maybe you'll know this after you look at this question. But so one of these is right for a box concert hall. So which of these is a box concert hall? If you can see these. I'll blow it out if you want.
The last one?
bottom.
Which one?
The bottom right?
Yep, the bottom right's a box, shoe box. So where would be the best seating for this?
Halfway.
So now after you know this answer, when you go to a concert, you know where to sit in
Uh-huh.
any one of these theaters. What do you think?
In the balcony?
Off-center balcony?
Yes.
Halfway into the orchestra?
Nope, number 4 is
Number
right.
3.
Number 4.
Number
Yep,
4.
off-center balcony is the best place in a box theater. And off-center orchestra, 2/3 of the way back. You know, people would say, oh, let's go sit up front. Well, that's actually not the best place in the shoebox theater.
Can you
So
show me within the image?
This is called the vineyard style, and the best place to sit here is anywhere. I don't know if that's true, but that's what they're saying. This one is a fan-shaped concert hall. Best place to sit is halfway in the orchestra, into the orchestra, or close to the front. This is a modified shoebox. It's a little bit of a fan shape, but the best place to sit here is the first few rows of the frontmost balcony. And then the shoebox is this one, best place to sit, off-center balcony. There seems to be questions, maybe you haven't come across them, but there seem to be questions about concert halls and acoustics.
Sorry, Paul, can you just move the mouse over where an off-center balcony is exactly?
An off-center balcony?
Yeah, I mean, according to the
The balcony is going around the perimeter.
Yeah, off-center would be these spaces, but it would be off-center orchestra. I would say pretty much 2/3 of the way back. So what about here?
Okay.
On both sides?
Isn't the orchestra the lower one?
Hmm?
That's the balcony. Isn't the orchestra the lower?
Yeah. And can you just move the mouse over where the
But I think,
off-center?
are you saying that it's a good seating up here on the balcony?
No, if you look, there's a second. I thought there was a second level of, maybe not, like where your mouse is now, or was. No, down. There. Isn't that balcony? Isn't
Oh, is that
that?
a balcony? I guess I can't tell.
I thought that was the orchestra theater.
Yeah, that is a balcony.
Well, it looks like there's
Actually, I
2
can't really.
balconies.
Yeah, it looks like a balcony.
Okay. So off-center just meaning not parallel.
Right.
Okay, got it.
Okay, what's the most aerodynamic building shape? Choose one.
Circle?
Polygon.
Aerodynamic. You want wind to move around the building fast.
That's circle. No?
Circle.
Yeah.
Circle. So a
Definitely.
polygon is actually the worst. An irregular shape is going to give you maximum wind pressure. The circle's the best. The next one would probably be a diamond.
Mhm.
A diamond's not bad shape, but few people design diamonds because of the acute angles there.
Right.
So circle's the best. That's why Buckminster Fuller and a lot of these things are, your circles just really are great for wind pressure. Okay, where would louvers be placed on the following building window orientations? North of the equator. This is PPD. Drag in place. Elements could be used once, more than once, or not at all. So east, which would you use? Vertical, horizontal, or none?
Vertical.
Vertical.
Vertical. West,
Vertical.
Vertical.
south,
Horizontal.
Over.
Horizontal.
north.
None.
None.
Correct. What's the most effective solution to reduce heat island effect in a parking lot? Keyword here is this: heat island.
Pervious paving.
Increase trees.
Reduce parking surface.
No, you can't. We went over that the last time. I think.
Yeah, yeah, that's right. You can't reduce. You can't assume that you can reduce a parking surface because it may be code.
So-
Increase trees.
Increase trees, right? That's correct. That's it. Oh, I guess it's not on. Sorry. So the answer to your question, the ratio of cross slope on a
Right.
curve,
Right.
the ratio is 1 to 10.
Well, it actually it gave me 1 to as the correct answer. It gave me 1 to 48, and sorry.
Yeah.
Let me,
What?
It gave me as the answer as the correct answer. It gave me 1 to 48, which I couldn't even understand because I
That's
thought.
wrong.
Well, that's what I thought. I mean, at the very least, 1.
Oh, that
to
must
50,
be. I think that's the cross slope for a ramp. So,
Right,
like, if you have a 4-foot wide ramp, you can't have more than an inch of difference from the side of the building to the edge of the ramp. But a curb ramp can be a lot steeper.
Well, right. The question was, what is the maximum according to ADA allowable slope to a cross slope to a ramp, and express the answer in terms of a ratio. So I thought it was 2%, and then that ratio is 1 to 50. But in the black spectacle answer, it said it was 1 to 48, which
All right.
is.
I
Yeah,
think
you
it's 1
see
to
do you see
48
the image
is
on the
for
wall?
IBC.
Can you see this on the screen?
Yes.
Yeah, this is curb ramps is 1 to 10. So they must be talking about something else. Is 1 to 48.
Yeah, I would think they're talking about, like, drainage. They need a minimum amount for drainage, which is about 2% or 1 to 48.
I'll try and
I don't
find the
know.
question again, Paul, because
Okay.
I just didn't have time in between when I emailed you. And
Yeah, typically this is the one that's on. They're looking for is 1 to 10.
yeah, the flared one.
But
Yeah, there is another slope within the ADA, which is 1 to 48, and I think has to do with drainage too. But I think I've seen it on the ADA code. So if you look into it, you may find it.
Though.
yeah, that's a good thing that everybody check on then, since that seems to be an issue. Anyway, so that's all I've got for you guys. Good luck to everybody.
Don't leave us.
Don't we?
So Paul, you're going to send us the new formula file and these questions, right?
I will.
And did I ask you, to give some direction where to read more about locating the building on site? Because
I don't really have to guide you on that because it seems like that's architect's experience. I mean, it's not an AHPP. It's not in any of the resource books that NCARB is referring you to, right?
I've heard that one good book is that Site Planning and Design Handbook. I bought that recently.
Okay, what'd you find in it? Anything of value?
It gives you, like, all different scenarios of, like, where would you place the building on this site, like,
Okay, there you go.
wind, sun.
So what's the name of the book again? Site planning?
It's called, I think it's called, actually, Sun, Wind, and Light.
Oh, Sun, Wind, and Light. Yeah, I've got that book.
Yeah, that's the one.
I
I've
think
heard that was really.
No, that book is really terrible.
Is it? Oh, never mind.
Hang on a minute. I got it right here. Everybody can see this? Oh, you can't see it.
No. Yep.
Okay, I'm going to check it out. It's just really badly organized.
Yeah, that's true.
So maybe,
Okay.
You weren't kidding, Paul.
I mean, I want to write to this guy and say, who are you talking to? Somebody from outer space? Or what?
Never mind. I haven't
Lila,
really looked at it yet. I just bought it, so.
Lila, basically, I was cobbling all the different sources that we have because they
Mhm.
each kind of say the same thing, but they don't. There isn't a great maybe the Chang book has the building construction illustrated, probably has it illustrated the best, but essentially it's just a description in words in the other resources.
Yeah, I mean,
Okay.
it's somewhat. I don't know how to answer the question, but you're right. I haven't found any of the resource books really to cover that topic well, if at all. And this book, Sun, Wind, and Light, you really have to spend some time on it to sort through it. I'm looking at it right now, and it's wow. It's I got to take drugs to read this book.
Hey, that's fine. Whatever you need, Paul. But
I'm
can
looking,
you just show
well,
us
I'm talking about aspirin and Tylenol.
Could you just show us one of the images from it?
What would be a good source for read about light well?
Light wells,
Mhm.
Sun, Wind, and Light.
This same book?
Same book. If you can navigate through it.
But on drugs.
Well, here's an illustration. I don't know if you can see that.
Yes.
So you can kind of look at and dissect that. He's mostly talking about the impact on sunlight and wind, not necessarily functionality. So if you're looking for this to give you guidance on, well, what works best in adjacencies, it's not going to help you. This is what solar orientation, wind, and light. So daylight, so walking buildings. So if a question comes up about that, then yeah, this book might be helpful. But again, I mean, I started reading it and I got frustrated with the organization of it.
I feel like it's a practice in just reading the question. Like the question's obviously going to tell you what to focus on and why something should be next to another thing. So for me, just like calming down and like reading the words that were actually on the page and not making assumptions, and like maybe I personally would put storage next to a bedroom, but like that kind of information wasn't in the question. They didn't say that. So, just sort of like really reading the question and not putting your own thoughts into it.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, some of it's logical. I mean, you want parking. You don't want parking on the main artery, right? You want it on an off street. So that's kind of a given, and you can read about that in I think Illustrated Architectural Studio Companion, Architectural Graphic Standards talks about parking and its location on off streets. When you get into a building, then you're looking at, okay, well, where are the bathrooms and mechanical, so things are stacking, right? Elevators are all those kind of common public spaces are in a core. Exit stairways outside, things like that kind of make common sense. I mean, there was one question I remember somebody had about an automobile showroom, and they had an office and they had a conference room on the second floor and a repair shop. So how would those things be organized? And it seemed to me it looked pretty obvious to me in terms of where things would be organized as you come into the building. The offices and lobby and reception are right there. Then you got the showroom, and you go upstairs to the conference room, and the bathrooms are stacked next to the elevator, next to the stairwell, things like that. Now, maybe one needs to do an internet search and look for those kinds of questions and see if there's a book out there that kind of helps define some of those spaces. But that's a good question. I know it comes up and people have trouble with it. But like I say, if Black Spectacles hasn't covered it in lectures, then I think we need to maybe give some hints to Black Spectacles that they need to focus a little bit more on that topic.
Yeah, definitely.
And I'll certainly search. So how effective do you think were the lectures?
Yours were great.
We're great.
I didn't lecture.
Very nice.
I don't want to lecture.
Oh, sorry, this isn't a lecture. Oh yeah, Mike Newman, he's really good. He's really good.
Yeah,
The
okay.
video lectures are good. I don't at all like the flashcard. It's like scares me. The way
Yeah,
it's
me too.
written, the language is, oh my goodness, I can't. But yeah, the lectures
Well, I
are
mean,
good.
how helpful are the flashcards in terms of answering questions on the
Not
exam?
at all
Not at
helpful
all, right?
because not at all, not
Not
at
much.
all.
No, I think the key things are kind of what I tried to put together in the formulas file, just kind of key things, shortcuts to equations, walkthroughs, because that's been really frustrating to me is to see all these books. They give you the answers, but they don't walk you through how they got the answers. So,
Yeah, that's
and for
true.
me, since I had a bad math background, I needed that kind of help. Just walk through it step by step. You know, talk
And
to me like I'm in grade school.
the real life examples are not actually that helpful either. Those videos are the different.
Yeah, from the
yeah.
architects. Mhm.
Yeah, I would
I don't know
totally.
what.
I skipped over those. 'cause-
Yeah, it would be better if they could give us some drop and drag thing more.
Okay,
Some more.
that's a good question.
Yeah.
Yeah, drag and drop and hot
Good point,
spots.
Lila.
Yeah, and a lot of graphic questions rather than just the writings.
And
would
or
help.
they're helping you solve a formula question. And like I don't need to know how someone built their concert hall in Minneapolis. And like that is not relevant to me to pass the exam. But if they can actually sub those out for maybe like like visual drag and drops or problem formula solving type things, that would be more helpful.
I think the other thing too, I'm going to pass on to them is to maybe talk to NCARB about giving more guidance into how to take the exam.
Yeah.
So, for example, if you've got a drag and place with askew plans, this is how you approach it.
I believe what NCARB should do is like to reduce those reference material less. They should give us lesser reading materials to read, not like endless, and then you don't know where to start and where to finish.
Well, as you know, I kind of zeroed in on some of the basics that I think are just the really key things to read. Like Architectural Studio Companion is a must-read in my opinion.
Yeah.
I think Construction Illustrated by Ching is a really good book. I think his illustrated codes is not so great unless you are visually inclined. Because every time I look at his buildings codes illustrated, I always have to find myself going back to the IBC code or ADA.
That's exactly how I kind of used it. Is that I would start with him, but then
he's got great illustrations.
Yeah.
To help explain the code, right? But he doesn't go into detail about the code.
No, but then that made me understand like where it is in the code sections, and I mean,
I think so. Those 3 books are really, really valuable. I think the other one is ARE5 Review Manual. Maybe not so much for PPD and PDD, but definitely for all the other exams. That's a really good book. MEEB, I have it, but I felt like Architectural Studio Companion does a better job of condensing it into easier language. And then you've got obviously the AHPP book it's really key. But then the bottom line is knowing all the AA contracts that are essential, right? 201, B101, and the codes. Chapter 3, Chapter 10. So some of those things I think to answer your question, they could make an easier checklist for you.
Yeah.
I have all those books that they've referred you to, and I've basically discarded a lot of those. I don't use them because I don't find the information in there as helpful. At least the feedback I'm getting from candidates.
I would have a for black spectacles, like those video lectures are really good, but it would be better more like how Amber has doing the video lectures with like graphical images, not like just saying much all the time to his face. We could love to see some
Yeah, no, I get that frustration when I listen to Mike. He's very clear and concise, but I feel like
Yeah.
I feel like I know more than he's giving me. Maybe it's with my experience, you know, in the practice, but I feel like I want to go deeper. Or
Yeah.
he
Agreed.
likes moving his hand around on the mouse thing and say,
Yeah, and
okay, well,
all the time we
well
have
then
to
draw
see
it.
his.
I want to
Yeah.
see it.
Yeah. Wait, Lila, you were saying Amber is at a different study guide?
Oh yeah, they have videos, and those videos, like even if you see 1, 2, 3, those are like right away you can get some ideas, like what they're talking about. It's not like just to see some someone face or hand,
Yeah.
rather than you can see some real like say what is LED light. When they're talking, they show you the light when they're talking about so they show you that this is the one they're talking about, like like so many examples, but you can see visually what they are, not like just trying to visualize them in your imagination that could be like that.
Yeah.
So
It's
The other thing I
Amber,
find valuable is
Amber,
when you
there are
come
a
up
lot
with
of
questions. Oh, go ahead.
there are
AMBER.
yes, they have a lot of free videos you can check YouTube, and those are really helpful.
Okay.
The other thing I tap into would be the ARE community website, because you'll see feedback from candidates.
Yeah.
So they cover topics which sometimes clear up some issues. The other thing too is really become good at internet search.
Yeah.
There's a lot of, sometimes rather than trying to find it in the book, you can find it on the internet in about 2 seconds.
Yeah.
All right, got to get ready for another cohort.
Okay.
So
Thank
good luck,
you, Coach
everybody.
Bob.
Let me know how you do.
Yeah, I'm gonna
Thanks.
take next month. So
Good luck.
Is this so? This is our last video, right?
This is it. This is the wrap up.
Man,
So what would be the best way to manage?
Some of you are actually signing up for Be the Tutor.
How do we do that if we need that?
Just send a note to Jay Ramirez on Black. You can send it to him on email,
Okay.
and he'll set it up with me.
we cannot send you it to you directly, like the email that you are sending us. If we ask that, I like to have a
Yeah, what you
teaching.
sent it to me, I just said I sent it to them because I have a agreement with them. I can't work outside of them.
I see.
They got me. I'm handcuffed to Black Spectacles, which is actually quite good because I have all the resources available. But yeah, if you want me to coach a tutor, my tutors typically they sign up for 3 hours sessions, 6 hours, or 12 hours.
And how does that work? Is that
It's usually
hourly?
once. Typically, what they do is the student will send me questions in advance, and I do some prep work on those questions specifically, so I can answer them directly. And then I'll give other review materials,
Okay.
a lot of which you've already received from me.
Right.
But then we'll do one session, 1 hour on a weekend, for example, and then they usually will do another week. Then we go every week, or else they'll say I need 2 weeks in between. So we'll split it up that way.
Okay.
And
And
some of
then
I have one candidate now. We do 2-hour sessions every Saturday.
yeah.
And to whom we should send the email to?
Jay Ramirez.
Oh,
And Black Spectacles just charges us like a bulk thing. Or
What Jay will
hourly?
do is he'll send you out the procedure,
Okay.
and then once you submit a payment for it. I don't even know what they charge, but whatever they do, then you sign up for 1 hour. I'm sorry, 3 hours, 6 hours, or 12 hours,
Okay.
and you basically fill out I'm studying for PPD or I'm studying for Ppd,
Okay.
and then then basically he turns it over to me, and then we start setting up the
so
schedule.
those questions are like like specific question, right? Not like a
Well,
question.
I have one
Or
question.
like
I mean, I have some good students who actually send me 20 or 30 questions.
okay,
Really,
yeah,
they're really
that would be
detailed.
helpful.
They're really detailed. So that really helps me because now I can really address a specific issue. Some of them will send me their exam results, right? So I can now see, okay, where were they weak
Right.
in one particular section? So then I can zero in on that section that they were weak in. And the other case is that they'll send me topics. Say like, well, next week I want to cover, if I'm looking at the thing, I want to cover sections 1 and 2 of PPD. And that's basically all she gives me. and then I got to zero in on what those topics are. Like for example, next week I have a session with her. It's 1 hour, and we're just going to go over wall sections.
Mm-hmm.
I see.
So
That would be,
it's
that would
pretty
be
much up
nice.
to the candidate to figure out what it is, and my job is to help zero in as best I can as to what to prepare for the exam. But I'm obviously blinded because I don't know what's on the exams, right? And I'm not supposed to find out what's on the exam. So I'm kind of shooting from the hip and trying to figure out, okay, I kind of condense what I'm hearing from candidates, the topics which need to be covered in more depth, and also from Black Spectacles and what they're learning is how to update their syllabus. So it's a combination of inputs, and then just being I teach a Bachelor of Architecture program at a university, so I'm doing this and learning out what young people are learning to get ready to take the exam. They're prepping for the exam.
We're not all young.
Yeah, that's the challenge, right? The thing is that most of my students who are in their 20s, they know more software than I know.
Yeah.
I mean, they know Revit better than I know Revit. They know Rhino. They know, I do have an upper hand on some of the softwares though that they're not used to. But anyway, yeah, I mean that's the trick, because the people who are looking for architects today, and the firms you probably are working for, they're looking for certain skill sets, right? Now you can just you can basically you can be hired. I assume the reason you want to become licensed is not only professional advancement, but also your salary could go up, presumably.
Yeah.
You can also have a better chance of getting a job if you have a licensed architect. Having said that, a lot of students are going into firms to help with construction document writing, things like that, or they're
How
really good at
soon,
Revit.
how soon they would assign, like, you, if we want to have any one of us
Depends on
want to
my
have
schedule right now. Right now, I've got 4 tutors, so I can take on a few more. Yeah, Jay talks to me about it, and then I call you and find out, okay, well, what's your, let's talk about, what's your schedule? When's your next exam? When's it scheduled? Let's see if we can fit it in. I had one student, she was taking her exam so quickly, I think I had to do 6 hours in 1 week. So we were hitting boom every other day.
I took my first 4 in 6 weeks. I passed them.
Good job.
Yeah.
Wow.
And then I got stuck on these last 2. I just
Yeah, these are the tough ones.
Yeah.
That sounds to me like you guys are getting there. I mean, there's so much material, and I think one of the things which I still hear some of you struggling with is anxiety. Again, knowing the material is one thing, right? One skill set. The other skill set is going to have to take the test.
Yeah. I'm not trying to beat a dead horse, but I really wish we had you from the beginning, because I feel like we really did lose a good month.
we'll lose our time. That's the most thing I would say. We lose the time because we're directionless.
I think if you give feedback to Black Spectacles about coaching and how people are approaching it, that would help them. Because I think we've got now 17 coaches in Black Spectacles. So I don't know, we have our own channel, our own Slack channel, so we can converse with each other about how can we improve instruction. Because we're here to help you, right?
How do you manage?
It's kind of like teaching.
How do you manage? How do you practice for time management?
Well, as I say, the best way to practice time management is to take practice tests, as many as you can, and time yourself. I mean, what I like to do, it may sound archaic, but you get one of those little band timers.
Yeah.
What are they called?
A stopwatch.
No. Well, you can use a stopwatch. I mean, you can use your cell phone and put a timer on it.
They have like kitchen timers.
I'm thinking of the thing with the sand in it. You flip it upside down. An hourglass. Yeah. An hourglass is basically it's quiet. It's not anxiety-wide, like your cell phone's going to go off and sound like an alarm. But you turn you can buy the hourglasses at 1 minute, 5 minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, and you basically flip it, and then you look at that, and as it goes off, you can say, okay, I covered 5 questions in 1 minute, or in 2 minutes, or 5 minutes.
Right.
figure out a way to do it that makes you feel comfortable timing yourself. But that's a key goal for time management, is just get it down so you take so many different practice exams that you've got it down. Okay, you should be able to, in a 3.5 hour exam, which is what you've got, 3 hours and 45 minutes.
Something like that.
Is that right?
Yeah.
4.
4.
Yeah, 4.
4 hours, but minus the 15-minute break.
Yeah, so 3 hours and 45 minutes if you want to count your break. But you should leave 1 hour and 45 minutes for case studies. So you should have all the others done in 2 hours. And have yourself 1 and 45 minutes left for case studies. Because I think, was it one of you took it or somebody else took an exam recently, and it took them a long time. I think he said 40 minutes for a case study, and the other case study took him 18 minutes.
Wow.
But that's how you handle time management. You got to practice and time yourself. And like we've discussed, you got to practice in it. It's as much of a similar environment as a prometric as you can. Noisy, uncomfortable, tired, frustrated, whatever you need to do to get over that. So when you walk into the prometric lab, it feels like I've done this a million times before. I don't have to worry about all these anxiety issues. And again, don't second guess yourself, and don't question the exam. Don't question NCARB. It is what it is. Deal with it. And move on. And remember, you don't have to get all the questions right. You can get, I think, 38 questions wrong and still pass.
But if you get a certain amount wrong in a certain section or topic, does that trigger?
Yeah, that'll kill you.
Well, I heard that it doesn't. That it does for the after part. So if you pass, it's like you have to get a certain percentage right, and then you pass. If you fail, then they divide it into subcategories and tell you where you failed.
Yeah, but you have to pass every section.
Right, but I think, maybe I heard this wrong then, but like for the actual pass, they don't divide it out. Like it's just the percentage. And then once you failed, then they have that where they divide it into the sections now. But I don't know. Like I know you have to pass every section, but I think that the computer doesn't do that for the first. Like I don't think it's got that ability to write it out.
Well, I'm not sure the metrics either, but I think each question is related to a section,
right,
and an objective in those sections. So of all the questions, they've got it balanced out, supposedly. I mean, again, I don't know the metrics exactly, but so then when it calculates it all out, then it can break that down into percentages of what you passed or failed in each section. Is that what I'm hearing you say?
Kind of. What I'm saying is that I heard that initially, like the pass or fail, like when we're taking them now, the initial pass or fail isn't based on that. It's just based on whatever the whole person is correct. I don't know if that's right.
I see what you're saying. But then you get the survey, right? You get the result back if you fail, and that gives you the breakdown.
After, but I don't know. I don't know.
It could be you're right. What you're saying is that you take the test and they haven't done that survey yet.
Right.
You know exactly where you broke down so they're giving you that likely pass or likely fail based on the total percentage of correct answers.
Right.
Beth, did you get your breakdown yet? Or are you able to download it from?
You don't get a breakdown if you pass.
Oh, you don't get a breakdown. Oh,
All right, guys. Well, yeah, send feedback to Black Spectacles, and maybe if I can help you, I'll pick you up as a tutor.
Okay.
But again, good luck. Don't let anxiety take over the test. You need to dominate it.
Thank you for all your help.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, Paul.
We'll keep you posted.
You're welcome.
Good luck, everyone.
Bye.
Thank you, Paul.
Good luck, team.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, take care.
Bye.
Bye.
Goodbye.
Good luck.
Bye.
Bye.